There's a moment so quiet you could miss it your whole life. The moment you stop searching is the moment you finally arrive. You've been walking for so long now, haven't you? Not just with your feet, but with your mind, your heart. Your entire existence bent towards something just beyond the horizon. Something you can't name, but feel missing. A completeness. A wholeness. An answer that would finally make sense of all this. You search in books that promise wisdom, in teachings that offer enlightenment, in relationships that might reflect back to you the person you hope to become. You search in work, in achievement, in the mirror each morning asking, am I there yet? Have I found it? And here's what no one tells you at the beginning of the path. The searching itself becomes the obstacle. Not because seeking is wrong, not because curiosity or growth or spiritual hunger are misguided, but because somewhere along the way, the search stops being about discovery and becomes about distance. The distance between who you are and who you think you should be. Between this moment and the moment when life finally begins. You've turned your own existence into a waiting room. Imagine a bird born in a cage, spending its entire life searching for the key to unlock the door, pecking at the bars, studying the mechanism, praying for release. And all along, the door was never locked. It was only resting against the frame, waiting for the gentlest pressure to swing open. This is the nature of our seeking. We search for peace while resisting the present. We hunt for meaning while dismissing what's already here. We reach for awakening while convinced we're still asleep. And the great paradox, the cosmic joke that saints and sages have been trying to whisper for thousands of years, is this: you are already what you seek. Not in some distant future when you've meditated enough. Not after you've healed all your wounds or read all the right books or finally released all your resistance. Right now, in this breath, in this consciousness, reading these words and wondering if they're true. But the mind, it rejects this immediately, doesn't it? No, it says. I'm broken, I'm incomplete, I'm not enlightened, I still get angry, I still feel lost, I still make mistakes. I haven't arrived yet, and there it is, the voice of the seeker. The voice that has convinced you that somewhere else is better than here, that some other version of you would be worthy of peace, but not this one. Not yet. This voice is ancient. It's the same voice that told our ancestors the next valley would have better fruit. The next season would bring relief. The next generation would understand. It's the survival mechanism that kept us moving, searching, striving through millennia of actual scarcity. But now we live in a different kind of poverty, not of resources, but of presence. Not of opportunity, but of awareness. We've become so skilled at reaching forward that we've forgotten how to rest here. The Sufi poet Rumi once wrote about a man who spent years traveling to find a treasure, only to discover it was buried beneath his own home all along. We read these words and nod thoughtfully, then immediately return to our maps and compasses, planning the next expedition. Because here's what the ego doesn't want you to know. If the journey is over, what happens to the traveler? If you've already arrived, who will you become? The person who's been searching is the person you've known yourself to be. The struggle has been your identity. The quest has given your days meaning, and your suffering purpose. To stop searching feels like ego death, because in a way, it is. The self that seeks is the self that maintains separation between subject and object, between me and the divine. between the question and the answer. This self thrives on distance, on the gap, on the not yet ness of everything. It whispers, just a little more, just a little further, one more book, one more teacher, one more breakthrough. And you believe it because the alternative is terrifying. The alternative is surrender, not defeat, surrender, not giving up, letting go. The difference is everything. Defeat says, I failed to find what I was looking for. Surrender says, what I was looking for was the act of looking itself. There's a Zen story about a student who asked his master, how long until I reach enlightenment? The master replied, 10 years. What if I work really hard? The student pressed, 20 years. The master answered, but what if I dedicate every moment, every breath to practice? 30 years. The student, confused, asked why each time the answer grew longer. The master smiled. Because each time you ask, you add another layer of seeking between yourself and what already is. This is the trap. The beautiful, elaborate, spiritually decorated trap. We turn awakening into achievement. We turn presence into performance. We turn the pathless path into a ladder we're convinced we must climb. And at the top of that ladder, nothing you don't already have. Nothing you haven't always been. Just the view you could have seen from the ground if you'd been willing to look. What if the thing you're searching for is the only thing not searching? Let's sit with something uncomfortable for a moment. Everything you've ever sought, love, success, enlightenment, belonging, you sought it because you felt its absence. The search was born from lack, from the sensation that something essential was missing, and if you could just find it, acquire it, become it, then finally, you would be complete. This is what I call the architecture of absence. It's the invisible structure your entire life has been built around. Not the physical scaffolding of your days, your routines, your relationships, your work, but the psychological framework beneath it all. The foundational belief that you are, in some fundamental way, not enough as you are. Think about it. Really think about it. When did this belief begin? Was there a moment in childhood when you first learned that who you were wasn't quite right? That love was conditional. That acceptance required performance. Maybe it was subtle, a parent's distracted gaze, a teacher's disappointment, a friend's betrayal. Maybe it was loud criticism, rejection, abandonment. Or maybe it wasn't a single moment at all, but the slow absorption of a cultural message that permeates everything you are incomplete. But don't worry, here's what you need to fix it. Buy this, achieve that, look like this, think like that, meditate more, manifest better, heal deeper, transform completely. The message is always the same: you're not there yet, but you could be. And conveniently, there's always someone selling the map. I'm not saying growth is illusion. I'm not suggesting we should abandon learning or evolution or the beautiful unfolding of consciousness through experience. But there's a profound difference between growing from wholeness and grasping toward it. One is expansion, the other is contraction. One says, I am enough, and I'm curious what else is possible. The other says, I will be enough when I finally figure this out. Can you feel the difference in your body as you read those sentences? The first creates space. The second creates tension. The first breathes. The second holds. This is how we know which voice is speaking, not by its words, but by the sensation it creates in us. The voice of seeking creates urgency, incompleteness, the sense that time is running out and you're running behind. It measures your worth against invisible standards and always finds you wanting. It promises relief in the future while making the present unbearable. The voice of presence creates stillness, acceptance, the sense that right now, exactly as it is somehow enough. Not perfect enough, not finished complete. It finds you already whole, already here, already home. But here's where it gets subtle, where the mind performs its cleverest trick. It turns the pathless path into another search. You read about presence, about acceptance, about the end of seeking, and immediately you begin seeking that. You start trying to not try, efforting toward effortlessness, striving to stop striving. I need to be more present. I should stop searching. If I just surrender, then I'll have it. And just like that, the architecture of absence rebuilds itself with spiritual materials. Same structure, different decoration. The Buddhists call this making a problem out of no problem. The Taoists call it trying to see your own eyes, whatever name we give it. The pattern is the same: the seeking mind co-opts even the teaching about ending the search. So what's the way out? Here's what might break your brain a little. There is no way out, because you were never in. The cage was always conceptual. The imprisonment was always perspective. The distance between you and wholeness was always thought nothing more, nothing less. You are not separate from life trying to get back to it. You are life, temporarily convinced you're something else. You are not a wave searching for the ocean. You are the ocean, having forgotten it's also the wave. This isn't poetry. This is direct description of what you actually are when you strip away every layer of identity, every story, every belief about what a you is supposed to be. Consciousness, awareness, the space in which all experience arises. The presence that's been here all along, watching the search, witnessing the struggle, holding it all with infinite patience. That presence doesn't need to be found. It's what's doing the looking. That awareness doesn't need to be achieved. It's what's noticing the striving. That consciousness doesn't need to arrive. It's what's already here, reading these words, wondering if they're true. So, when we talk about the moment you stop searching, we're not talking about resignation or spiritual laziness. We're not talking about abandoning growth or curiosity or the beautiful human impulse to explore and expand. We're talking about a fundamental shift in understanding, from seeking what you lack to recognizing what you are, from becoming who you should be to discovering who you've always been, from reaching for wholeness to relaxing into it. This shift doesn't happen through more effort. It happens through recognition, like suddenly seeing the optical illusion resolve. Like realizing the word you've been trying to remember was on your tongue the whole time. Like coming home after a long journey and understanding you never actually left. The architecture of absence collapses the moment you stop feeding it with belief. Not through force, through seeing. Not through doing, through being. Not through finding, through noticing what was never lost. Every spiritual teaching points to the same place. But the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. There's a reason every tradition, every lineage, every awakened being throughout history has tried to communicate the same essential truth in 1,000 different ways. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, not later, not elsewhere, within you. The Buddha pointed to the ground beneath the Bodhi tree and said enlightenment is here, now in this moment of simple being. Lao Tzu opened the Tao Te Ching with words that essentially mean the truth that can be spoken isn't the ultimate truth, because truth isn't in the words, it's in the wordless presence beneath them. Ramana Maharshi asked one question his entire life: who am I? Not as a search for identity, but as a pointer back to the awareness asking the question. The Sufi mystics danced themselves into obliteration, spinning until the spinner disappeared, and only spinning remained, the direct experience of existence without the experiencer. Every path, every practice, every teaching, all pointing to the same moon. And yet we study the fingers. We collect the pointings like treasures. We debate which tradition has the best words, the clearest method, the most direct path. We build entire lives around techniques and philosophies and systems, all of which are just fingers, just pointing, just invitations to look. But looking where? Here. Now, at what's already present before the teaching, before the thought, before the seeking began. This is what stops the search, not finding some new truth, but recognizing the awareness that's been witnessing the search all along. Let me say that differently. Right now, you're aware. You're aware of these words. You're aware of your thoughts about these words. You're aware of sensations in your body, sounds around you, the quality of light, the texture of this moment. You're aware. This awareness, what is it? Can you locate it? Can you find where it begins and ends? Does it have a color, a shape, a boundary? Is it young or old? Damaged or perfect? Incomplete or whole? When you rest as this awareness rather than as the thoughts moving through it, what's missing? What needs to be found? What problem needs solving? The mind will immediately jump in. Yes, but what about my anxiety? My confusion, my unclear purpose, my imperfect life? And here's the profound recognition. Those are experiences arising in awareness. They are not what you are. They are what you're conscious of. And the awareness that holds anxiety is not anxious. The consciousness that witnesses confusion is not confused. The presence that observes the imperfect life is not imperfect. You've been identifying with the content of consciousness rather than consciousness itself. You've been taking yourself to be the weather instead of the sky. And the search, all of it, has been the weather seeking the sky, the waves seeking the ocean, the rays seeking the sun. When this is clearly seen, not intellectually understood, but directly recognized, the search doesn't just end, it's revealed to have been unnecessary from the beginning. This is what the mystics mean by awakening. Not acquiring some new state, not achieving some elevated consciousness, but waking up from the dream that you were ever separate from what you sought. It's like spending years searching for your glasses while they're on your face. The moment someone points it out, you don't gradually find them. You instantly recognize they were there all along. The search collapses in laughter. This is why the spiritual path often leads to such unexpected simplicity. After all the practices, all the insights, all the transformations, you arrive at what was obvious all along but impossible to see while seeking. Being. Simple, ordinary, extraordinary being. Not doing anything with it. Not improving it. Not using it to achieve some better future state. Just being. Just this. Just now. The Zen masters call it ordinary mind. But there's nothing ordinary about it when you're actually resting there. It's simultaneously the most mundane and most sacred thing. The ground beneath every experience, the space in which life unfolds, the silent witness to everything. And here's what's beautiful. From this recognition, from this resting in what you already are, life doesn't stop, growth doesn't cease, curiosity doesn't die. In fact, the opposite happens. When you stop seeking from lack, you start creating from overflow. When you stop trying to become, you start expressing what is. When you stop searching for your purpose, you start living as purpose itself. The actions look similar from the outside. You still work, love, learn, grow, contribute. But the internal orientation has completely shifted. You're no longer trying to arrive. You're allowing what's here to flow through you. You're no longer trying to fix yourself. You're allowing yourself to unfold. You're no longer trying to find meaning. You're allowing meaning to find you. This is the wisdom in stopping. Not stopping growth. Stopping the belief that growth will make you whole. Not stopping effort. Stopping the effort to become something other than what you are. Not stopping life. Stopping the resistance to life as it is. The moment you stop searching is the moment you realize the search was keeping you from what you sought. The seeking was the separation. The trying was the obstacle. The journey was the distance from home. And home was here. Always. In this breath, in this awareness, in this simple, perfect, imperfect moment that needs nothing added or taken away to be complete. You are home. You've always been home. The searching was just the time it took to realize you never left. So what now? What does life look like when the search is over? The mind expects something dramatic. It expects that when seeking ends, life transforms into perpetual bliss. Problems vanish. Challenges disappear. Every moment becomes saturated with meaning and peace. But that's still the seeking mind, now seeking the end of seeking. The reality is stranger and more beautiful than that. When you stop searching, life doesn't become perfect, it becomes present. You still experience the full range of human emotion. Joy and sadness, clarity and confusion, ease and difficulty. But there's a fundamental shift in your relationship to all of it. Before, you were living towards something. Every experience was evaluated based on whether it brought you closer to or further from what you sought. Happy moments were proof you were on the right path. Difficult moments were evidence you'd lost your way. Your entire life was on trial, constantly being judged against an invisible standard of where you should be. Now there's nowhere to get to, no standard to meet, no future moment that will be more valid than this one. So this moment exactly as it is becomes enough. Not perfect, enough. Not complete, whole. The difference is everything. You walk differently when you're not trying to arrive somewhere. There's an ease in your stride, a willingness to notice what's actually here rather than always looking ahead to what's next. You breathe differently when you're not holding yourself together until some future relief comes. Each breath becomes its own arrival, its own departure, its own complete cycle of being. You love differently when you're not seeking completion through another person. You meet people as they are, not as who they might help you become. And paradoxically, this creates real intimacy because you're no longer relating to your projection of them. but to their actual presence. You work differently when you're not trying to prove your worth through achievement. The work becomes its own reward. Not because you've stopped caring about outcomes, but because you've stopped outsourcing your sense of okayness to results you can't control. This is what it means to live without seeking. It's not passive. It's not resigned. It's not spiritually bypassing the real challenges of human existence. It's meeting life with both arms open, both to what brings pleasure and what brings pain, both to what confirms your understanding and what shatters it, both to the ease and the difficulty, the light and the shadow, the clarity and the mystery. Because when you're not searching for something better, you can finally be present for what is. And what is, when you're truly present for it, is endlessly rich. The texture of water on your hands, the way light moves through leaves, the sound of genuine laughter, the silence between thoughts, the ordinary miracle of consciousness aware of itself. These aren't small things you notice while on your way to something bigger. These are the big things, revealed when you stop racing past them toward an imaginary destination. The Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh once wrote, "There is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way." This isn't a nice sounding platitude. It's a direct description of what happens when seeking ends. The destination you were searching for wasn't a place you'd arrive at in the future. It was a way of being available right now, obscured only by the belief that it was somewhere else. So what's the practice? What's the thing you can do today, right now, to stop seeking? Nothing. And that's not a clever answer, it's the truth. You can't practice your way into not seeking, because every practice you do with the intention of getting somewhere reinforces the fundamental belief that you're not already there. So instead of a practice, I'll offer you an experiment in noticing. Next time you notice yourself seeking, reaching for your phone, planning the future, analyzing the past, trying to fix something about yourself or your life, pause. Don't judge it. Don't try to stop it. Just notice it. Notice the sensation of seeking in your body. Notice the thought patterns that accompany it. Notice what you believe will happen when you find what you're looking for. And then notice what's already here, beneath the seeking. The awareness that noticed the seeking. The presence that's witnessing this entire experience. The consciousness that's been here all along, never lost, never lacking, never separate from what you are. Rest there. Not as a technique, not as a means to an end, but as a simple returning to what's always been home. Do this once. Do this 1,000 times. Each time you return, you're not building towards some cumulative achievement. You're simply recognizing what's already true. And gradually, not because you're getting somewhere, but because you're seeing more clearly, the seeking loses its grip. Not all at once, not permanently, but increasingly you'll find yourself resting in presence rather than reaching for the future. And in that resting, life will continue. Challenges will arise. Growth will happen. Change will unfold. But you'll no longer be waiting for life to begin. Here, now, in this breath, in this awareness, in this perfect, imperfect, wholly ordinary moment. The moment you stop searching isn't a moment in time. It's not something that happened or will happen. It's always available. Always here. Always now. You are what you've been seeking. The peace you want is the peace you are. The love you search for is the love you're made of. The home you long for is the home you never left. So rest, not because the journey is over, but because the journey was only ever the distance between belief and recognition. And in this recognition, there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to become. Just this, just here, just you, whole already, finally, home.